Okay, so we have to pretend a little bit, a little make-believe, that we've called a shop meeting in here and we have all the techs, the advisors, the service manager, and maybe even the owner. Why not get everybody on the same page? So, guys, who wouldn't mind having an extra 150 bucks at the end of every week? Well, if we well use UPI, this is not just like a pipe dream. This is real money, and I'll show you how it works. First off, what's UPI? Well, there's John, our advisor over there, and let's say the customer, Mrs. Jones, comes up to John, our advisor, and says, John, here's my car. John looks at the mileage and says, Mrs. Jones, you really could use a transmission service at this mileage. What do you think the likelihood of success is for John? No, a little higher than that, lower than that. It's, if he just tells the customer, Mrs. Jones, he has a 25% chance of getting Mrs. Jones to purchase. That's not a great percentage, but at the same time, isn't it worth it for John to be approaching the customer at the counter and saying, hey, Mrs. Jones, this is what you can use. Because 1 out of 4 she's going to buy, that's going to help boost your guys' tickets as techs, and it's going to help your hours per RO, and everybody wins. So, low percentage, but worth doing. Now what happens if, and we'll just pull this out, what happens if you bring up to John an air filter, a dirty air filter, he shows it to Mrs. Jones and says, Mrs. Jones, this is your air filter, it's filthy, you need a new one. Now, if John shows her the air filter and tells her that she needs it, what do you think the percentage is of her buying? That's right. 50%. Now, kind of surprising, these are NADA statistics, NADA statistics, but it's kind of surprising that it's only 50%. Maybe Mrs. Jones is in a hurry, whatever the case, these are the statistics. So even with show and tell, it's still only 50%. Is this a good thing to do? Yeah, it's half the time we want that job. We want it all the time, but we're going to get it half the time. Good thing to do. Now, what about UPI? UPI is upselling from the primary item. Let me tell you a little bit like how that works. Let's say Mrs. Jones comes in and she says, my car's running kind of rough, it's got 40,000 miles on it, and it's just running kind of like a bag of garbage. What can you do? Can you help me out here? John takes the keys, brings it back to the tech. The tech figures out that the repair is a coil. Is there any reason why at 40,000 miles we shouldn't be doing a fuel service on that car as well? The fuel service is the maintenance, it's not the repair. But Mrs. Jones already has in her mind that her car is not running right, and if we tie this upsell maintenance into the primary item being that her car isn't running right and she needs a new coil pack, it is 85% likely that she will purchase. 85% likely that she will purchase that maintenance. Now, at 40,000 miles fuel service, are we doing a good thing for the customer? Absolutely we are. And it's something that, you know, she's in there for in the first place. There's no reason not to do it. We're doing her a good service, and we're doing ourselves a good service by getting some extra revenue in here. So, let's take a look at what that actually looks like when we're looking at tickets. Now, I've actually taken some of our tickets here that we've written, and I pulled them back out, some maintenances that were not upsold from primary items, and we're going to read them out here together. So, Go ahead. I believe Keith over there. You've got the first one. What's the mileage? Yeah, her Chevy pickup here has 79,062 miles. Okay, we're just gonna round it off. 79,000. That's good. So what was wrong with the car? Okay, and customer states leaking coolant. Okay, and it needed a water pump. With that water pump, is there any reason why we would not also do a coolant flush? Is it a good thing for that car? Absolutely. We're going to get all the old crud out of there. Water pump failed. There might be particulates in the system. Let's get that stuff out of there. And it's good for the car. It's good for the customer. Let's do it. So the missed maintenance is cool flush. Missed time. Now here's where we start making the extra money. So you're doing this water pump. Would it be nice to have an extra little gravy attached to that job? Yes, it would. Okay. Peter, what do you have for mileage over there? Yes, it's a Cobalt with 53,000. Okay, 53,000. And what does the RO say? Yeah, it had a fuel pressure regulator issue. Okay, so customer states that it's running rough. Now, is there any reason why, after we replace that fuel gauge, or the fuel pressure regulator, whatever, is there any reason, I mean, what would be the upsell from that? Yes, exactly right. The upsell would be a BG fuel service. Why not? So, the red 53,000 is it a good thing to do for the customer? Absolutely. Sure. Sure. What do you guys get paid? 1.2. Okay. So here we are. We've got our coolant flush, fuel service. This is starting to add up the time. Go ahead, next ticket. 61. She was leaking power steering. Okay. Customer states they've got a leaky power steering system. Is that something that we can, after they fix the hose, it ended up just being a hose, nothing serious. After they fix that hose, is there any reason not to do a power steering flush on that? Absolutely not. Let's do that power steering flush. What do you guys get? Yeah, we get 0.7 for that.